I went 10 days without electricity, and it would have been more. It would have been more if I didn't have a neighbor who works for Eskom. Eskom currently, if you're not South African, Eskom is the monopoly, the parastatal monopoly that is the sole energy provider effectively in South Africa. And they are now my mortal enemy. The entity, not individual workers of Eskom, but Eskom, the entity, is my mortal enemy. At the end of time, you will find the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and you will find me and Eskom in a mortal battle to the death. And then we will both go to hell, and the battle will continue. Anyway, the problem is that they're currently going through like a Y2K. Basically, they're having a Y2K bag moment in 2024. It's very poorly communicated, not just to the end user, not just to the client, me, but within Eskom itself, and that resulted in me not having electricity for 10 days. And like, oh no, we can't recode your meter because it hasn't been rolled out in your area yet. So I'm supposed to wait for it to be rolled out in my area? When's that gonna happen? In 6 months? The deadline is in November. During that period, I read some books. Not a lot. You'd think I would have read a lot, but I didn't. I'm gonna end off with a 5-star book. End off on a bang. But the first book I want to talk about is Exordia. You know, this one is my fault. I should not have read this. There is another booktuber on YouTube, Prim Reads, you know, who I have very similar taste to. Anytime he doesn't like a book, I also don't like it, like without fail. Or if he's like, oh, I enjoyed this book and I read it, I also love and enjoy it. So he didn't like this book, but he did say something. He said something like he liked the first part, but he said the rest of it reminded him a bit of like the 3-Body Problem. The 3-Body Problem is a book I gave 5 stars. So I ignored him not liking the book and heard 3-Body Problem. I was like, oh my god, yes, and I love it. No, I should have listened. I didn't like it. I just like Prim. I liked the first part and I did not like the rest. The first part is great. The first part is like people compare it to Venom. I've never read a Venom comic. I haven't seen the movies because they're Sony properties, and like Sony makes terrible movies. Like I don't know what to tell you except the Spider-Man animated stuff. But I understand what Venom is. It also reminded me a little bit of Doctor Who in like this kind of silliness of the universe, the way that things are being explained. Again, I've never seen Doctor Who. I compare so many things to Doctor Who. It reminded me of a book I tried to read earlier called Empress of Forever. It also kind of had a very similar universe, and also that book I also compared it to Doctor Who. Something I have not watched. I would also say Paul in there. Remember the movie Paul? That's the best part of the book. It's fun and funny until it wasn't, and then we get into like what the book is actually about. This book is like actually an alien invasion story set in a very specific part of Earth. I think saying where it is a spoiler. I don't know. The book is written, it's told in a very intimate third person present tense point of view. The character voices are very clear in the narration, even though it's third person, which is unfortunate for me because, oh my god, 3 of these characters were annoying and they were like the main characters. They were so annoying. Oh my god. They were the American characters. They were written in a very like a cliche action movie voice type, you know, like an 80s action movie American. You know, like not like just a normal person from the US, but like they were written like that, and it was just like, oh god. 3 characters all sounded the same. All 3 of the American characters sounded the same, so that was not great for me. And then there were 2 characters I enjoyed, Chaya and Kaje. The other ones I was just like, oh my god, we're back here. The writing also, the storytelling also uses very liberal use of flashbacks. Hated. I read Medusa Uploaded recently, loved it, 5-star book, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5. Lots of flash forwarding, lots of flashbacks, done so effectively. Here it just felt so unnecessary. Like the characters arrived at a certain place and they see the results of a disaster. Something terrible happened, and you can kind of guess what happened based on like, you know, context. Somebody's lying face down and they have a hole in their head, and they have a bullet-shaped hole in their head. Like, I wonder what happened. You know, I wonder what happened to this person. In this book, we have to have flashbacks. We have to know exactly what happened to every specific body that we saw. And I'm just like, oh my god. I will say that there's like some really like horrific body horror in this, and it was written wonderfully. It was so like I could picture everything, and I hate it. It was great. Have I complained about the characters? I have. My favorite section is the section just after the Venom part, which is like a description of the invasion, and that's written in like the most removed third person omniscient, told by a narrator that I don't know. I like that. That's how I like my science fiction. I like it either dry and matter of fact, or just completely earnest, or both. I don't kind of like this like nudge nudge wink wink type of deal that we had going on in this book. Instead of actually being subversive, what Seth Dickinson will do is like hang a lantern on it. Like, oh, you know, like, isn't it crazy how this is happening? You wrote the book, bro. You don't get to commiserate with me and be like, yeah, oh, it sucks that this happened. You wrote the book. You could have written something else, you know? Like, I don't like that. Like, just either write it and stand in your truth, you know, or don't write, or write something else, or be subversive. Like, don't be like, oh, isn't it crazy how this usually happens in books while doing the thing. Come on now. This book needed editing. The action scenes were going on for way too long. What I did like was that this didn't do the usual thing in science fiction where they make the US the only rational actor in the entire book, which is just so unlike reality. It's crazy, but that's like a common thing in science fiction. This didn't do that. This had a lot of international collaboration, even though at the end of the day, the heroes were the Americans, but like, you know, whatever. What are we going to do? We live in America's world. This is America's world and we're just living in it, apparently. God, I hate the way that this ended. This ended so terribly.
Warning, spoilers incoming. Spoilers incoming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We ended off with unkillable characters. These characters are basically unkillable characters being horny. That's the end of this book. We have a woman taking drugs basically and planning a threesome. It was like reading one of those science fiction books from the 70s, you know? Like, that's how the book ends. Like, I get that it's the first in the series, but like, that's the resolution. Oh my god. That's the resolution. Like, when you start the book and you get into it and you start like getting to know all the characters, then you'll understand why that ending was like, what was the point? What was the point of that? I want to talk about Eric and Clayton and about how much I hated them. I wish they had died. Both of them die at some point, but they don't stay dead. And I was just so disappointed. Especially Eric, when he came. I know it's like we should all want to live in a world full of Erics. I fucking don't. No, thank you. I don't want to live in a world full of Erics. Yuck, gross. Clayton sucks also, obviously. They both suck. And also the thing with the wife was so weird. And then we get like the long flashbacks, which I skipped. I skipped most of them, of like Clayton talking about how he met the wife. But I'm just like, I don't care. Can we get back to the alien invasion? Eric and Clayton, I wish they had died. And then Anna also dies at some point, and I was like, oh my god, yes. And then she undies. She doesn't die. Nobody can die now. And the earth is just like gone, just blown up. Okay. Cool. Great. I really did like Chaya and Kaja, but I hate who they were like tethered to. Oh my god, they deserve better. Anyway, this was fine. I should have trusted Prim Reads and our taste that usually aligns. That's Exordia done. Then I read another book before I read this book, but that's the 5-star book that I'm gonna save to the end. But I read Lizards Hold the Sun. And I love this. This is a contemporary romance, which I've been saying that I'm not going to read anymore, but like here we are. This was great. This is basically a small town romance, but set on a reservation, I think in Canada. But our main character is from Mexico. She's like Mesoamerican and she's like an architect. That's not what she is. An archaeologist. And she's going up to help move like bodies of people and like, you know, put them in a museum and like catalog the stuff and, you know, doing archaeology stuff in this reservation. And while she's there, she meets a man, you know. This was so cute. This was very cute. Like, I really loved this romance. I loved how it was written. It was third person, mostly one point of view. Sometimes we did get the limited point of view of another character. I thought it was so cute. I love it. My favorite part was like at the beginning when he was like, you know, putting the moves on her a little bit, and I was just like, oh my god. This is very cute. One thing I was annoyed by is like when she would be like doing her work, when she's like doing her job, she kept like looking up at him and be like, oh my god, he's so hard, oh my god, he's so. I'm like, girl, focus, please concentrate. I was like, okay, I get it, she's into him, thank you. The first sex scene was good. I was not cringing. I read it, I was like, oh, wait, I'm reading a sex scene and I'm not cringing. Hey, okay. The other ones after that, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, there's one in a public bathroom also. Ew, gross. Yeah, this is not just me being a germaphobe. Like, no, gross. Oh my god, I could not read that one. I didn't read it. Like, I saw it coming. I was like, I'm not gonna read this. Those are like some romance author obsessions. Things did get a little melodramatic towards the end. Like, okay, all right. But you know, this was cute. I like the 4 stars. Like for me, giving a contemporary romance 4 stars. This was really good. And also the cover is just so good. It's beautiful. Then finally, the star of the show, City of Stairs. Oh my god, 5 star. 10 out of 10. I love this book. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is a fantasy book, a mystery set in a fantasy world. Love that. More of that, please. This world is like, it's giving Eurasia a little bit, pre-industrial Eurasia, but like not really. There are no horses in this, which, oh my god, thank you. I figured out that's my issue with fantasy. I don't like horses as transport. Like, I like horses in real life. If there's a horse in a fantasy, I'm out. So it is like pre-industrial Eurasia, but the thing that kind of makes this otherworldly and fantastical is like the other elements. The fact that there are like actual gods or divinities in this. Well, they were until they were all killed. There's that. There's the city itself. It's very weird. There are like stairs everywhere. And like the weird mismatch technology. They have cars in this, but they light their homes up with gas. What do they cook with? I think they also cook with gas. Like things like that, you know? Like, so it just, little things like that give it like otherworldliness. So it doesn't feel like I'm reading historical fiction, which I don't like. That's the story. That's the world. This world has gods and they were killed. And this is like the world afterwards. And a murder happens. And we have to find out who did the murder in this world. This was so interesting. I loved how this started. You know, this didn't start like, this is the world and this is the this and this is no. And I like how information about this world was given to you. It was given to you organically. We start in like a court scenario and the inciting incident happens in chapter 1. During that court scene, you get so much exposition, but organically, and the inciting incident also happens in that. I'm like, this is how you start a book. This is it. The writing was also so good. So if like I could picture everything. I felt like I was in this world, was transported into this world against my will, by the way. Horrible descriptions of food and tea as well. So well written. I was there. I was tasting it. I was tasting it. I was smelling it. I was feeling it. The cold. I was seeing everything. This is so good. And also, it's not too long. This is what I want all my fantasy to be. If it's not like a light whimsical or a dark whimsical fairy tale type book, then I want it to be this, like a mystery set in an interesting world. This is so good.